Let's go. Welcome,
Hey.
people, to Confidently Wrong. Your
Who
favorite
is that voice?
podcast.
What's happening here?
Yeah, right now, folks,
Where's
what you're having
Wesley?
is what we call a Savon takeover.
Savon takeover.
Wesley is here, but Savon decided, you know what? It's my turn. I'm taking over. I'm taking the wheel. You heard me? So look, Big Dog Savage here, ready for us to talk your favorite movies, shows, and whatnot. Today, lovely folks, I am here, Takeover Savage, also known as Captain Finance, with award-winning director Brian Redondo, and our former host, father of two, wife of one.
Wife of one.
Husband of one? Husband of one. There we go. Husband of one.
Oh,
Wesley.
he just emasculated me in front of all of our listeners. I see what happened there. Thanks a lot, Savon.
Wesley, you're out. Savon, you win.
How y'all fellas doing?
Good. I'm on vacation. I'm out here in the city of Galveston, Texas, which is a small, sleepy beach town. Think boardwalk situation, some beach situation, and then big cruise ships also launch out of here to head to take you on your Caribbean cruise.
Are you on spring break? Is that what's happening here? You're on spring break.
Yes. So we decided.
Have you showed your tatas yet?
No tatas. They staying in. It's like 45 degrees outside. They're staying inside.
Wait, what?
So you on vacation in Texas where it's 45 degrees with your two children, and this is the idea of a vacation. Boy, you
like,
different.
Hey, kids want to suffer?
Boy, you different. My son said he in cold Texas with his kids. Vacation. Oh, that's dope. Hope y'all are having a lovely time. Brian, what about you? How you doing?
I'm all right. I have not slept. I don't feel so great. So we'll see what happens during this episode.
Maybe it's gonna make you better
came
though.
And smack people in the grill. That daylight savings ain't a joke.
Yeah, all of the inhibitions will just be out of there, and you'll just be your feisty self. You know.
Could happen. God, this is Brian's.
Are you telling me I'm inhibited? Maybe I should be high every time we record.
Hey, let's go.
Do that.
So Savon's like, I know nothing of what you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know. That sounds miserable. That don't sound like a good use of stuff at all. So yeah, so glad y'all are doing well today.
Let's talk about the movie. I want to talk about the movie.
Yeah. Calm down, Wes.
Let's go.
Calm down. Take your seat. One mic, one voice, all that good stuff. Yeah. So we're gonna talk about Dune Part 2. We talked about Dune previously, and probably like around 2021, late 2021. It is now early 2024. We have the sequel. Let's
That was back in the pandemic.
The sequel.
We watched it on streaming. It didn't come out in theaters. I didn't go see it in theaters.
Speak for yourself. I watched it in the theater.
Did you?
Yeah, Brian.
Absolutely.
Nah,
I was like in the second row, looking up Chalamet's nostrils.
With a hazmat suit and this thing, like, man, I'm good.
I look like Michael J. Fox in the first Back to the Future.
Oh God.
The yellow
hazmat
that
suit. N95 or you raw dog?
No, that
in
was
the air?
like N1000. Did you say raw dogging the air?
Yeah.
Ew.
That is a term people use to describe.
All right, let's go, Sam. My bad. I
haven't raw dogged the air since I was 13.
You let me host once, and now you're trying to undermine me. So we have one of the most decorated and well-known sci-fi series of all time. What do y'all actually know about Dune? Period. Like either before going in, like what do we know about Dune for the folks who don't know nothing?
Oh man, I don't know.
Is it well decorated? I don't think
shit.
I knew it was well decorated.
I think in sci-fi circles, the more I've heard about Dune, like with the movies being popular, I've actually heard in a lot of circles, Dune actually is referenced in a lot of pop culture. I don't think it was mainstream popular, but I do think in a lot of like sci-fi, especially novelist circles, Dune is very popular. And people have definitely educated me on, there's Dune references in lots of shows you watch. You just didn't catch them because you didn't read Dune, but the deep cuts are there.
Yeah, I think a lot of people also consider Dune to be the inspiration in small or large part to Star Wars.
Yeah.
I think absolutely.
I've heard Dune be compared favorably in terms of its ways it's been an inspiration for other fictional works the way Lord of the Rings was, where it's this very long, in-depth world-building novel. Now, obviously, one's more sci-fi, one's more classic fantasy, but lots of other books or media in their genre build off of concepts or tropes established in those two respective series. So, I've actually enjoyed learning how influential Dune is, because a lot of stuff I enjoy, it turns out Dune did it first, which is pretty dope.
And
So
similarly to Lord
go
of the
ahead.
Rings, right? Like for the longest time, people were saying, "Oh, it's too difficult to make that into a movie. It's too huge. It's too sprawling. It's too whatever."
That's what she said.
And who's she?
I'm gonna time you out, Wes.
David Lynch famously tried to adapt it in the 80s, and that movie is widely panned. I haven't seen it, but I'd love to see it. Patrick Stewart's in it. Anyway,
So we didn't know a lot
version.
about the series. So we didn't know a lot about the series as a group going in.
I would say though too, I'm not sure that this, you were talking about like fantasy and this is kind of like the sci-fi version. Remember way back when we talked about what was that show with Adam Scott on Apple TV?
Severance.
Brian kind of hypothesized or theorized that there was a key component to sci-fi, to good sci-fi, which is that the technology or the advancement or whatever, the gimmick has to be central to the story. And I wonder actually if Dune meets that criteria, because while the faster than light travel is while faster than light travel is the thing, right? The technology update, and it uses spice and all of that. At its heart, this is really a story about politics and control and empire. And so I'm not sure that this meets Brian's definition of sci-fi, even though obviously, Frank Herbert and Dune are considered, clearly in the pantheon of sci-fi stories.
Yeah,
to me, it's
Brian
not hard sci-fi. We're kind of splitting hairs, but it's not hard sci-fi. It's more like fantasy epic set in space.
Yeah,
set in the future.
But you're at that point you're literally describing Star Wars, which is funny because it goes back to our original convo, right? Because I think I've heard many arguments that Star Wars is actually arguably more fantasy than science fiction. The science in Star Wars is actually one of the least important parts of the world and how things operate. It's more about like the fantasy element and the other stuff. They just happen to have technology, but that's not central to the plot related stuff. So that's a very interesting distinction when you kind of break down what actually is sci-fi, right? But that's episode. Hey, we should talk about that for a different episode, right?
All right.
But as a group, we didn't know a lot about Dune. We know it's an acclaimed, respected series. We know that it comes from a very in-depth novel. We know that movie attempts were made, but they weren't great. And the first movie was very popular, as in like the 2020 adaptation. So naturally, this is a sequel. How did y'all actually feel about the first movie? Like real brief. Like how'd you feel walking away, Wes?
I felt kind of torn about the first one. I think there's a part of me that was just like, this movie was really great, and I don't want to completely change what my answer was when we talked about that first movie, because I don't remember what I said. So if I say something that's totally different than what I said in that pod, my bad. I don't remember,
Well,
but
I was looking through the notes of that episode. Those were some questions. Those are some very interesting questions.
Yeah, so I mean, it's possible that like my feelings on it have changed actually in the past 3 years since it came out. I think one of the things that I was struggling with a little bit in the first movie was it was a little bit on the slower side for me, and that it didn't end in a way that I found satisfying. And I didn't know that there was going to be like that they were clearly trying to set up like multiple things. A lot of times the first movie, even if it's in a trilogy, yeah, I know this is the Across the Spider-Verse.
This is a running theme for you.
I know.
My goodness.
The deja vu.
Yeah,
I'm getting. No, the best part. So wait, so Wes, you'll love this. When I was actually prepping the notes, I was looking through the original Dune notes just to see what were some talking points.
Oh, he did some homework.
I did. And I explicitly saw a comment you made about, and I think something a friend said where you felt like you were sold a false bill of goods, and that you thought you were getting a whole movie. And
I did.
You didn't. You wrote almost exactly that. Just keep in mind, this was in late 2021. So, Wes, as much of a hard time as I gain power
consistent.
and feed off of, this man is consistent. That boy said he wants a beginning, middle, end. He wants to walk out the theater thinking that was a conclusion to the story, and now I can draw my own feelings about what has happened.
Hell yeah.
Boy, he don't get that. He is red in the face. Sorry, Wes, continue.
So that was
I
definitely.
didn't know that life goes on.
I wanted to. I just didn't. I think part of it was just I didn't know that's how they were going to set this movie up, and it kind of felt like, oh, there's like clearly. I don't know. I mean, like obviously, like clearly, there's so much story more to tell, but it didn't feel like they had focused so much on Paul Atreides in that first one, but Paul hasn't really like developed very much in that first movie, and so I think that's where I sort of felt like it didn't quite pay off to me as a viewer, because I was like, I want Paul to like become a little bit more dynamic, or to have some changes and whatnot. And we'll talk about that in this second movie, but. So that was the like the small parts of it that were like rubbing me a little bit the wrong way, and then the other half of it was like, man, what an incredibly made movie! Like the visuals were so good, the characters were like really interesting. Even like the setup, the politics of it was like really fascinating to me. You know, this idea that the emperor was actually playing like 3D chess a little bit in the sense that they were taking away a colony from one house, giving it to another house in hopes that they would actually go to war and destroy each other, and it plays out exactly like that. And like the Harkonnens are very different. They're like very visually striking. Obviously, Scars, I think it's Skarsgård is the actor that plays the Baron, is obviously just like crazy to look at. and it gets even crazier in the second movie. So like there's so much in that first movie that is just wonderful to watch, to be a part of. And I think for me it put Denis Villeneuve on the map as like a name. Like I knew some of his movies from before, but I didn't know his name, like that was associated. Maybe that's just my bad because I'm a smoothie, but
boo. Come on.
Do your
Blade
homework.
Runner, Arrival, come on.
Yeah, I didn't see Blade Runner 2049 until like a little bit later. It might have been after Dune that I actually ended up seeing it. So I don't know. Yeah, I mean, the first movie I really, really did enjoy, and there were like small parts of it that I felt like structurally I was like, I just didn't love that part of it, just the ending mainly. And the fact that it was just a little bit, I don't know if slow is the right word, but it was just kind of like, it didn't have a ton of like crazy action going on. But yeah, that's how I felt about it. I don't know. Yeah.
What? It didn't have crazy action? Like the whole last half of the movie is an invasion. People getting killed, explosions.
Yeah. I don't know.
All of that hand-to-hand fighting.
I don't know. Sav, you saw parts of it. There's parts where it just feels slow, or I don't know. Maybe I don't know what I think there's reacting to.
I mean, there's a lot of exposition because, we'll talk more in another question, right? Like, there's a lot of world building they do that they don't hold your hand about. So that can feel a little bit slow, but I think that's meant to draw you into the story. But I enjoyed the action sequences that I saw. Jason Momoa's character having that really intense hallway fight last stand was great. Paul fighting your boy in the desert towards the end, and they having a little honor battle, and he's trying to spare him multiple times. Pretty much anything involving a sandworm. I actually enjoyed the action sequences quite a bit. It had a cool, unique flair that was sci-fi, but not the typical sci-fi with the whole energy shields. I don't know. I like the action.
Damn straight.
I don't know if there's any other major fights I'm forgetting, but
if you go back to our Confidently Wrong Awards, first edition, at the end of 22 out of 4 of us, when there were 4 of us, proclaimed Dune to be the movie of the year. The movie of the year for a good reason, because it was like big spectacle blockbuster filmmaking done really well.
At a time when we needed it.
Was back. And that's, I mean, for me, that's like the biggest, best quality of the Dune series so far. Is just like, it's the thing that you want to see on the biggest screen possible with the best sound system possible. It just like smacks you in the face at like how good all the visuals are. Like everything is so well shot and photographed, and everything, artistic design, the production design, like the dragonfly helicopters, the way the force fields work, all that stuff, like the suits that the Fremen wear, like it's all just like part of such a tight whole of a world that they've built. And then the way that it's portrayed on screen is just so massive that it feels fitting for this kind of genre defining series that Dune is. And that's just something you want to eat up all the time, I think. And we should savor it because it doesn't happen very often that we get movies like this.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think no matter how you felt about the plot, well put together, thoughtfully put together, a lot of care and effort and time was put into it.
Oh yeah, and like we talked about this, that there was like clearly an attention to detail on like communicating things visually so that not everything had to be described. Like, so yeah, they did a lot of exposition, but even like we talked about in our last pod about how the shields were visually kind of shown to us, and so we understood how they worked pretty early on. So I don't know. It was just, I thought Dune 1 was like really good. I got annoyed by the ending of it, but that didn't mean I didn't want to see part 2. I was really excited to see part 2. And we're going to do spoilers today, right? On part 2?
I think we should.
All right. Great.
Yeah.
Sam, let's keep going.
I think a lot of people have seen Dune 2 at this point.
Yeah.
I don't know, but let's just hop into it then. What about this straight up? Just whatever. Straight up, what about this movie did you enjoy? Like, did it build on what you like? We just talked about what you liked about the first movie. What did you like about this one? Did it build on what you liked about the first one, Brian?
So, like, one of the biggest, I think, best parts of the first movie was actually the world building, right? Like, just this is already what we've been talking about, right? Like the things with the different houses, spice on Arrakis, like a very, very new and different, and actually for me, like very refreshing lore in the sci-fi epic space, right? It's like, for once, we don't have to deal with effing Jedi.
All right,
but instead we get like Bene Gesserits, which are really cool. Like the Harkonnens have like blood bodies that they're soaking blood from, and then you got the Freemen and their lore. And so there's tons of world building that happens in Dune 1. I would say in Dune 2, they established a lot of that already. In Dune 2 is more about the story and Paul Atreides' story moving forward, and he becomes very much the singular focus of what's happening, aside from a few things that go on with the Emperor. Shout out to Christopher Walken, who I kind of laughed at when he first appeared on screen. I was like, Christopher Walken's in this? Is he gonna do the voice? Like not the Bene Gesserit voice, but the Christopher Walken
voice, yeah.
And then speaking of Severance, it's like it's just wild to see him in there. So, there's a little bit of the Harkonnens, a little bit of the Emperor, but still mostly the attention is on Paul Atreides. And so I think from a story perspective, it's a much more digestible story, right? And it's much clearer. And, I was even saying to some people, like, you could probably go watch Dune 2 and enjoy it without having seen the first one. You'll be confused by some of the players, but I think for the most part you can follow along. And then be, pleasantly satisfied when you go back and watch the first. So I think there's a lot there, but at the same time, I do miss the world building part, because to me that was such a high point of the first movie. And there's kind of just a little less to explore, though they develop more on the Bene Gesserits, and it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool to see the Fremen really get their due in the second one. They're drinking like the piss of the sandworms and stuff, and just like all of that crazy culture stuff. Or I was even joking about this before we started recording about like them not wanting to waste water, right? Like Javier Bardem's character telling Paul Atreides' mom, like, keep it in, like, don't throw up, keep it in your body, because like any waste of water in the desert is seen as negative, and they only want to retain it in people's bodies. And then when they die, they extract the water from those bodies and then put them into a communal reflecting pool at the center of one of their like sacred bases or whatever. So I think that kind of stuff is really cool, and I kind of wish they did even more than what they had.
Yeah, I like the spitting thing from the first movie where the dude spits on the ground. You take it as like a sign of, oh, it's supposed to be disrespectful, because in our culture, you spit on the ground at somebody, it's like an aid. F you. But for them, it's like, right, am I remembering right? For the Freeman, it's
Yep.
like the total opposite of, oh, me willing to even waste any amount of water in this thing is actually a sign of respect. So actually, it is just the polar opposite of what we take it to mean. But as a viewer, you're like, oh. And then I remember Jason Momoa's character exactly like, no. That's respect. Don't take it this way. So, I mean, if it's less of that, I understand, because I guess you got to get the major plot moving and all that stuff. But Wes, what about you, bro?
What was the question? What am I trying to answer here?
What the heck?
Yeah,
I
so
fell
what
asleep
about
during
your
the
answer
podcast.
during Brian's answer? What did you like about the movie, and what did it build on that you liked from the first movie? I can repeat that again if you need me to.
One more
What
time.
did you like about the movie?
Can you put it in visual form? Type it up on a PowerPoint? No, I'm good.
I will make you a Canva.
I find myself like trying to think of like what else I could say besides what Brian said. And the only take I have on it is that, like, yeah, my smoothie brain definitely like enjoyed this movie more because it had so much like focus on Paul and his journey and his growth and his change. And growth is not always good, right? Like in the way that's happening, but his development over the course of the movie, his relationship building, his kind of coming on his own or coming into his own as a young adult rather than someone who is a junior to, or learning from an apprentice to his father and to his mother. In this movie, we start to see him come of age, basically. And so I think that's a universal story that's very powerful. They did a great job convincing me that Timothée Chalamet, who's fairly slight physically in his build, is actually like maintaining this power, or has developed this power. So I don't know. I really did enjoy almost all parts of this movie. And yeah, I don't know. It's just like really, it was really good to watch. I also kind of, nodded off in places, but that was kind of my fault because I went to see like a really late movie showing because the kids, that's after they go to sleep. And right now it sort of takes two parents to parent them at all times. So that was my one shot to go. And I went.
The numbers are even now.
Yeah, we're playing man-to-man.
What time did you see this movie?
All the time. I didn't see I saw the 9:00 showing. I did consider seeing the IMAX showing at 10, just because, because like you said, I wanted to see it in the biggest possible format. But I thought better of it, and I was like, no, that's gonna be way too late, even on a Saturday. So I went to see the 9:00, which was still pretty late. It didn't get out until 12:30 or something like that.
Yeah, the movie probably didn't start till 9:30.
Yeah, it's
and then it's Wes's bedtime.
Oh, it was my bedtime way before the movie ended. I was sitting there at like 10:30 being like, ooh, I got to make it another 2 hours.
Why did you do that?
Oh, why did I do that? You're going to go where? To the beach? Okay, say hi to...
Send the baby away. What?
That was definitely hi, Uncle Seth.
Say hi, Uncle Brian.
She sound like a Freeman.
Hello.
She sound like one of the Dune characters. I don't know what the hell she's saying.
She's using the voice.
Good times. Okay, have fun at the beach. I'll join you in a little bit. Okay, bye-bye. Oh, Nyla, you gotta go too.
Hey, my son said, get the baby, the dog, get him the hell out of here. Daddy's working.
To the sand.
Papa Naka is working. All right.
Good
so, yeah,
times.
so overall, both of y'all enjoyed the movie. Y'all liked the visuals. It was like, it seems like overall, this was Brian, you missed some of the world building, but it felt like this movie was a step up from what y'all liked in the previous one.
Was it a step up? I
don't know.
I think for the most part, it was a step up for me.
Yeah. I thought the
it was definitely way more. I was way more locked in, I think.
Yeah. Even
more
though I was
the movie was more locked in. Okay.
No, I think we as a viewer, I think we're able to like follow everything a lot easier. We know who the players are at this point. It's very clear where the conflicts are and like what the goals of each character are for the entire movie. I think in the first one, it's not that it wasn't clear, but like there's a little bit of, I think it was not always clear like how the Harkonnens were fitting into this, how the Empire was fitting into this, or the Emperor was fitting into the story. And so it made trying to figure out what, and we don't know what the Fremen are up to either, right? They might have their own sort of agenda in the first movie. Whereas in this movie, I think everyone's agendas are a little bit more laid out and more clear to the viewer. You know, the people are done sort of hiding their intentions, and they're really just like, it's time to boogie. It's time to like take what's ours.
Yeah,
Let's
the build up.
dance.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
build up is done.
Yeah. No more foreplay.
It's kind of like it. Whoa, it kind of reminds me of like by the time you get to maybe episode 3 or 4 of Game of Thrones season 1, right? It's like, oh, I'm following it now. All of this tracks. I'm no longer in the confused state. Now I can just enjoy what everybody is trying to
These are the
trying
major
to do.
houses. This is the chill house. This is the mean house. This is the incest
The
house.
mean
This is the
house.
dragon house.
Yeah.
All right, cool. This is so you see them, you're like, oh yeah, boo. You see them, oh yay,
Yay! Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, it makes sense when you're telling a long form story like this. So, Wes, the next question you had in here, some folks pointed out that Paul, is it Atreides?
Yeah, Atreides.
Am I pronouncing it correctly? Atreides. He said he embodies the white savior, but that's not really a question. It's just a comment.
Yeah. So I mean, I think, and
So I'm
we're.
assuming you just
I
wanted
think
some
me
space
and
to
you were
talk about
talking.
this.
Weren't me and you talking about this idea that like, are viewers going to be into this, consuming this as like a white savior story where like some white character comes in and has the answers or liberates the indigenous folks, or leads them to victory against some some force or whatever. And I think this story, and maybe Mike even pointed this out a while ago on the original pod, that I think
Mike, or was it me?
was it you?
I think it was me.
Okay.
Yeah, he played.
I'm going to take credit.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
Mike,
take credit for
what
it.
Mike gonna do? Dispute it?
He's gonna hit us up in the Instagram comments.
Hey, no.
Well, Brian, do you
no.
wanna-
He doesn't
do you
even
wanna-
follow us on Instagram. Actually, I don't know. I
you
hope
want-
he does.
He probably does. Brian, do you want to then talk about how like Frank Herbert kept sort of where the allegory actually fits into the real world, and how this actually ends up over the course of the entire series ends up not being a white savior story?
Well, like that was, I mean, for me, that was one of my biggest issues with the first movie was like, oh my God, like they're all saying that like Paul is going to be, he's like the chosen one. He's the savior. The Fremen
No,
are going to
we
look
all
to
know
him.
the chosen one is LeBron.
Or Wembayama.
Oh
Am I
my
even
God, that
saying
guy
his
is
name
so
right?
good. His blocks are ridiculous. Incredible.
It's unfair.
And I mean, he's got the same build as Timothy Chalamet. So
Tall and
clearly,
slight.
clearly they're saviors.
Uh-oh.
No, but yeah, in the first movie, it's kind of like, oh my God, the white guy, this like little rich white kid is the savior for the people of the sand, right? Like the people that live in the desert. Does that sound familiar to you? Like the people who are producing the thing that all the other planets want to fuel their vehicles. Does that sound familiar? Hello? And so it's like, oh my God, white savior, like we don't want stories like that. Like I don't want a story like that. And so when the first movie came out, I did a little homework. I did a little Wikipedia reading on Dune and Frank Herbert's intentions. And I think he this guy is a former journalist, and I'm pretty sure he wrote Dune with the intention of talking about, or at least paralleling some conflicts in the Middle East.
Oh yeah.
And
Spice.
so bringing in the white savior trope, he's not doing it to perpetuate it. He's actually doing it to undermine it, I think. As me trying to read as much as I can without also spoiling what happens in Dune, that was my interpretation of it. And so Dune 2, now, which becomes very Paul focused, and we see him with the Fremen, and the Fremen, there's like a big section of the Fremen who are like, oh my God, this guy is the savior. I want him to be the savior. But what was great about Dune 2 was that it turns out there's a whole nother faction of Fremen who, kind of look down their nose at that, and they're like, oh, those are just like the people from the South who drank the Kool-Aid on this prophecy BS. And we don't believe that, and like, we don't know what this kid's deal is, but he's got to show and prove himself just to even hang out with us, right? And so I think like that dichotomy is something that's really interesting that happens in Dune 2. And then, we get a lot more about the Bene Gesserits, Paul's mom, and also turns out like Bene Gesserits are in every house, whispering in people's ear. They have the Emperor's daughter under their control, under their wings. I don't even know. Is she actually part of the bloodline of that the Bene Gesserits have seemed to be developing with all the major houses? Unclear. But what we get in the second movie is that the Bene Gesserits are the ones that kind of made up this prophecy and spread it across the Fremens in Arrakis, right? So they are perpetuating this notion that a Messiah is coming, and then so Paul's mom wants him to use it, like actually like take up that mantle because it's beneficial to them and their house, and that means they can use the Fremen as their soldiers, as their war force. And so I think like definitely this like idea of a white savior starts getting very murky and very political in all the best ways in the second Dune. And seeing what happens by the end of it, I'm very curious like how it's all going to unfold in the third one, because Wes, there's going to be a third one. All right. You heard it here first.
Should have told him before
And
he went to the theater.
I mean, I definitely think that this movie is an examination of that, and it's a critique of this idea that outsiders are going to come in, especially rich outsiders are going to come in and have the best intentions for an indigenous culture and actually look out for them and be able to like truly, I don't know, link up with them in a certain way, right? Or like become one of them. And it, I was talking with my buddy Albert, and he was just like, I'm tired of these like white savior things. And I'm like, that was the whole point of this entire movie. And now I'm definitely going to spoil things, right? Like Paul Atreides, Timothée Chalamet's character has misgivings in the beginning. He openly says like, I don't want to necessarily take advantage of this prophecy or of this lore that has been spread, especially knowing, because he knows that it's fake. He knows that it was started by the Bene Gesserit, and he kind of struggles with that, right? And he doesn't want to go to the south because he knows that like if he goes to the south, or he thinks he knows that he can kind of see possible futures where it leads to the destruction of billions and billions of people. And he's like, that's not what I'm actually trying to do. I'm not trying to follow my mom or my mother to the south just to survive, if that's what it's going to mean, right? Like he can see the cost of it.
Yeah.
And by the end of the movie, and this is where like the spoilers are, he has completely dived into the embodying this Messiah, the savior, in this group. And he's using it to manipulate people now. He's using it to assert his power. He's using it to try and win back some dominance for his his revenge tour, basically, right? For the Harkonnens killing his dad. And he can't, I think the whole point of, not the whole point, the movie is critical of him for not being able to actually fully embrace being a Fremen. He can't let go. We talked about attachments with Avatar. He can't let his attachment to his house go. He can't let his attachment to his father go. And it leads him down a dark path where he's become now Darth Vader rather than Anakin, right? Or he's become Darth Vader rather than Luke. He can't, he's so caught up in his hurt, his rage, that the thing that comes first is winning rather than liberation, right? Because he's part of that rebel group that takes down some of those spice machines and all of that stuff, and he wants to do well by the Fremen people. But when push comes to shove on whether he's going to have power to avenge his father's death, or whether he's going to have to actually be on the run and fully embrace being a Fremen, he chooses revenge, right? And that's sort of this idea that like you if you're an outsider, you actually have to give up all of your privilege. You have to give up all of your like your oppression in order to actually
you gotta
move forward.
like humble yourself,
right? And he wasn't able to. He couldn't give up the trappings of being a powerful player so that he could like save his dad's legacy, basically, in some respects. And that ends up being where he takes the turn. And so like I really do think that that's like important for people to know or to see, is like the white savior aspect of this is actually being critiqued through the whole thing, because by the end he's clearly now the villain.
And he took it personally.
Yeah.
Okay, Wes. Again, a lot of opinions. So I guess we'll really see how we feel about Paul and what it is once we see the conclusion of the series, which, Brian, you seem to already be familiar with. But I think this is a case of reserved judgment until you get to the end, because how they stick the landing will depend on how this is received and whether it was executed or aged well. So, Wes, I know we've talked about this a bazillion times, but I guess it's another case of we'll finish it and see.
Yeah, we gotta wait till the end.
We gotta wait till. And this is very much one of those, much like True Detective. How good a lot of the journey is really going to depend on how you stick the landing.
Oh, definitely.
And
And that's going to color everything that came before.
Because then, what was it? Was it a throwaway conversation that was really boring, or was it key foreshadowing that, if you keyed into it, actually hinted a major plot development? Again, it just depends on how you stick the landing. So we'll see come Dune 3 in however many years that is.
In 2042, we'll see Zendaya as a grandma.
Yeah.
No,
Wes,
actually,
Kai
Zendaya is an
Dune
interesting
fan by then.
What was that?
Kai is gonna be a Dune fan by then. She's gonna be dragging her. Dad, we're gonna be late to. You're sleeping during the movie. Hold on now, Kaya. Daddy, Wes needs.
She's going to use the voice on you. Wake up.
I'm sleeping, Kaya. Daddy needs his rest. Oh, that's old man Wes.
But there is speculation, though, that Zendaya is going to be like a huge key player in the third movie as sort of like the antithesis to Paul becoming this savior emperor person.
Can I say something about that then?
Because she's the one who's clearly anti what he's become. Because she was on the side of people who are like, this prophecy is meaningless. Like, it should not be important to us. And then she sees Paul descend into it.
Yeah, I wanted to say too that like what a turn at the end, right? Like that moment where, well, right before he goes to this like ceremony situation with the emperor, he says to her, you know, I love you no matter what, right? Basically, is kind of his message. And then he goes out and like immediately is like, yes, I agree to marry the daughter of the emperor.
Yes, Florence Pugh in your dominatrix outfit, be mine.
And it's clearly that it's a political thing. He's not like in love with the daughter of the emperor. He's trying to consolidate his power, right, and his influence over the rest of the houses. But you know, obviously Zendaya's character is betrayed, right? Like in that moment, and she's the only one who won't kneel at the end and won't accept that this is the path that he chose, and walks out, like, you know, basically like that angry mom at the city council meeting who like can't give up, you know, whatever wrong got done to her. You know, but
usually those are not the right type of characters. Usually they're angry because they haven't banned certain books from the library yet.
Exactly. But in this case, we're on Zendaya's side. We're like, yes, like, absolutely, this motherfucker like is just after power now, right? And he's drunk with it. And just like there's I think, well, I wanted to contrast this. I haven't read the books, but like everything that I've read and seen is that actually Chani's character, or Chani in the books, kind of goes along with it. This whole like marriage to the emperor's daughter, she sees it as like, okay, fine, like, you know, we'll just be together. She kind of comments like, we'll be his wives or sisters, basically, to the emperor's daughter. And so I love that, like, in a 2024 sensibility, we're like, nope, that's not how this is going to go down.
Yeah.
You know, like, absolutely not, you know. And so like I love that like they made that change from the books, from the source material. And you know, if they change it up so that in the third movie that Zendaya is actually like, I don't know about the protagonist.
Zendaya.
Yeah. I think it's Zendaya. She's going to be the antagonist to Paul's protagonist.
Really?
You know, that'd be great. I think like what a great, like, we see them come together, and like the payoff is going to be them actually having to fight, right? Like, or to lead forces against each other. Oh no, I enjoyed that quite a bit. That's where this movie is going. So I do think you're right. I think this is absolutely where we're going. That she's going to be the main one trying to take him down now. Like, what a betrayal on personal level and like a social political level.
Bring it on. Knife fight in a phone booth. Let's have
Yes.
it.
Yes.
Cool. So we had a few other questions. Is there more we want? Is anything else we want to kind of discuss before we get to maybe some of our sillier questions?
It's not
Should we
silly. I don't know.
jump to
Did you want to
7?
talk about any things that you thought were a little bit like shortcomings, Brian?
Shortcomings. There are actually a couple.
Ooh, critiques.
Like
Glows and
so
grows.
so the story moves forward, but there's like just like a few like random illogical things that happen in the movie, like when the dude takes over Arrakis from Drax. Dave Bautista, the dude that plays Elvis. I forget his name. Whatever.
Austin Butler.
When Butler takes over, and then they immediately bomb like the Northern Fremen's bases, like particularly that reflecting pool that is sacred to them, and then everybody's sort of shocked and surprised, like, oh my god, like they're bombing us here. And then for the Harkonnens, the lead of the House of Harkonnen is like, yeah, like, good job, like, you're doing way better than Drax. And it's like, wait, what? Like, all of a sudden they know where this place is and they're bombing it, and like he's getting the kudos for it. Like,
where did they learn
like
that?
if you had that intel, like where did that intel come from? And then if you had it, like, why don't you just do that before? Like, it, like, stuff like that was kind of silly, just like the strategic plan of attack for at the end of the movie when they're going after Harkonnen and the Emperor. It's like, oh yeah, we're gonna time it with the sandstorms and stuff, but it didn't really make a difference. I don't know. There's stuff like that that felt a little weird. And then also Paul's turn towards the prophecy, right, is a little murky too, because he's anti-prophecy for most of the movie, and then all of a sudden he's got a weird vision, and then he's 100% into it. Kind of a jump, kind of a big jump for me.
I think he also took that blue, what, I forget what they called it.
He drank the worm piss.
The worm piss. The blue worm piss.
Water of life.
Yeah. And so I think that also had an effect on his like powers, right? Like his visions. And so I took it to be like that also like infected his mind a little bit, right? Like I don't think it's just like, oh, it wears off. Like I think the worm stuff also like infects them. That's how I took it, because the mom is also more.
Yeah, she's also messed up
into it once she takes it, right? Like she starts getting tattoos, she starts talking to her baby, which is like also sentient, which I think that'll have a bigger role to play in the next movie. It definitely is, because they showed us in a future vision that it's going to be that the woman from
the Queen's Gambit lady.
Yeah,
but aren't babies sentient?
Yeah, the baby becomes sentient after she drinks that blue stuff. They show you didn't see it. They show like the blue stuff actually in the womb, surrounding the fetus, and after that she has like real big conversations. She doesn't just like sense like the baby's doing fine or whatever. She actually can like talk to it, and she can understand what the baby is thinking.
So, friend of the show Sean told me that in the book, the baby, it's not that she's talking to the baby's born, and that like she's talking to the toddler who speaks like an adult. And is like trying to orchestrate things. But good choice for the movie not to have like this adult talking baby on screen. I think talking to the fetus is a little bit more palatable. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think because you can also sort of like explain it away as like it's also the mom, right? Like having
is it like
right?
in her head?
It's a little bit more believable. That she's sort of going nuts. Can you guys hear the screaming of the baby in the background?
Oh yeah.
Sorry, listeners.
They're having a the best time or the worst time?
I think she's
can't
having
tell.
the best time. It sounds like happy screams.
It'd be hard
All
to
right.
tell.
So yeah, I don't know. I didn't have any major critiques. I think the only one that was sort of questionable for me, which I didn't care that much, was like they switched to having laser weapons. I think the Fremen ended up with like laser weapons and with bullets. And the first movie had made such a big deal about the fact that like you don't use firearms in this day and age, and so I didn't quite understand, or maybe I sort of just maybe assumed I had missed it because I had been nodding off at different parts that like maybe they did explain how those weapons worked. No, okay,
I don't
so
think so.
that would be a small
I
thing.
totally agree. And then it's like all like, so when do they decide to fight with knives instead? Like, you got guns? Come on, come on, dude.
Yeah,
like you
so
put it down. That makes no sense.
that to me was maybe something. I know in the books, I think it's established that like those shields, if you do hit them with the force of something moving as fast as a bullet, they actually release like basically like the energy of a nuclear explosion. And so that's why people don't do it, because it's so destructive, and like anybody within shooting range would also be destroyed in that. I don't think that works necessarily on screen in this day and age. Like we'd be like, I don't think the battery pack is going to able to detonate a nuclear explosion. Like that's just not enough energy. But I mean, whatever, it's fine. So that was a small thing. Everything else I kind of really liked. I wish Florence Pugh had more to do rather than just to analyze.
Just wear crazy costumes.
Yeah, she was sort of just there like as like an explainer for the audience more than she actually had anything to do in the story. But you know, it's okay if that to me is okay if they set her up in the third movie to actually be a big time player.
Yeah, that's how I assume it was going to go. They're just introducing the character and then she'll have her do later. Kind of the way Zendaya. Are we really saying Zendaya? I don't think it's
Did
Zendaya,
you Wikipedia
Wes.
it? I feel
no. I'm pretty sure it's Zendaya.
Okay, you keep going. I'll find it.
And I believe, and that's the case for Johnny's character in Dune 1, right? Like we see visions of her. She says like maybe 5 words, and then Dune 2, she has her do.
Wikipedia says
she has
Zendaya.
her Dune.
Pretty sure it's
Wikipedia says Zendaya.
Zendaya, really?
Yeah, very clearly says Zendaya, and it says it's got 2 sources, as stated on Stephen Colbert's show and in a Wired article.
Well, so I stand corrected then.
There you go, Zendaya. I would also pronounce that Zendaya if I was just looking at it.
I think Zendaya sounds way better, don't you?
I mean, it doesn't matter. It's her name. So we're just going to go with what her name is. We're not going to call him Savon.
Weasley sounds way better, right?
Savon.
Right, Savon?
You about to get slapped through the screen. It's going to be great. I'm here for it. All right, let's do it. Do you want to do the sleepy question? You don't even agree with the premise, so I'm going to do the sleepy question. Okay, so I was talking to my buddy Albert, and he was like, bro, I just did not like Dune 2. He's like, I'm glad that you liked it. You can't hear me?
No,
can you hear me? You can hear Savon?
Yeah, no, do your thing.
Okay.
I just didn't agree with you, period.
He was like, I didn't really like it. He's like, there has to be something too. He's like, 3 of my friends fell asleep while watching Dune 2. And then it turns out that I also fell asleep a little bit while watching Dune 2. And Savon fell asleep while watching Dune 1. And while you might be able to explain some of that by I'm tired as shit, because I was, I'm wondering what you guys think of the idea that like these movies, because they are, well, I don't know, maybe you can hypothesize your own reason, but to me, I think part of it is like the soundscape of the movie. It has these sort of like, it's not monotonous, but it's very like monotone. You get like the throat singing, you get sort of these chants, you get all this sort of like ethereal environmental noise, and it ends up being, in some ways, the sound and music ends up being a little bit like sound machine-y. And then you've got like long beautiful landscape shots, you have wide shots, and then you have basically literal like fireside chats where characters are just like sitting there like kind of shooting the shit and talking about Paul and his messianic whatever probabilities. There's moments obviously punctuated by violence and action and stuff like that, but in between there's a lot of like slower moments. And then I don't know, maybe there's something the way that Denis Villeneuve makes these movies that ends up lending themselves to be a little sleepy. Brian, do you lend any credence to that, or do you think that's just a personal like, hey, just a couple of us were tired and we saw it in the wrong moments?
Yeah, what is the small sample size?
It's very
non-scientific
small.
sample size. of narcoleptics watching movies. Like,
Okay, so you
geez,
say-
Late
come
at
on.
night.
Yeah, so you say it's
At
totally
night,
nothing.
in movie theaters that now have lazy boys for seats. Yeah, okay, some people fell asleep during a 3-hour movie. Great,
Yeah.
thanks.
Man, that sound
Okay.
design really put my son to sleep.
yeah,
Boy,
the
them wide-scaping landscape shots.
the sound of massive explosions and people getting like stabbed in the gut. Yeah, that's really like a lullaby.
Well, I don't think that's when
Yeah.
people fell asleep, though. So you say nothing. There's nothing to it. This is just a regular movie in terms of that kind of stuff.
People fall asleep, man.
Yeah,
People
yeah,
are
yeah.
tired and they fall
Okay.
asleep. Like,
Alright.
whatever.
So this is just
I don't know.
capitalism, being overworked, all of that. Okay, all right.
No,
So
fool,
nothing to
just
it.
tired.
Nothing to it.
Yeah,
Okay.
like you were tired. You
Yeah,
are
yeah,
a
yeah.
father of 2 little ones.
I told him, I was
overworked
like-
as a teacher.
A
I was like,
husband of
I
one.
don't know. Husband of one.
Teacher of
wife
many.
Of one, teacher of many. I don't know. I was telling him, I was like, I don't think it was the movie. I think it was me. But there's other people, like, I mean, that's a lot of people to have fallen asleep. And of the people that he knows that have seen the movie, it was a high percentage, right? So it was just like, well, is there something here?
Listeners,
know.
Wes decided this is something we need to have a discussion about.
Yeah.
Wes, you are Wessing so hard right now,
Okay.
and I love
Alright.
it.
I thought
I
Dune
love
2 or Dune
I just-
Snooze? You be the judge.
Snooze part 2. Yeah, I just wanted to get your opinion on whether it was something or nothing. You guys decided it was nothing. That's fine.
It was not. Hey, I made it
I don't
clear.
have. I don't
just
know.
poorly
I mean,
managed-
I did fall asleep, so maybe there was something.
I'm not hosting because Dune was boring and put me to sleep. I'm hosting because when I tried to watch Dune, I was late to the movie. I had freshly finished recording the podcast. I was tired from the night before because I had a long Friday and tried to go right into a really intense, locked-in movie late. So I didn't do myself if it didn't have any coffee or tea, I did myself no favors. Like, that was my first time falling asleep in a movie, and I said, like, over 15 years, I don't fall asleep at the movie. That might have been the first.
But maybe this
Or
is
second
maybe.
time
But
ever.
doesn't that say something?
So-
This is the one.
No, because I was
No,
tired.
no, it does not
Did-
say
did I
something.
just
No, it
explain
doesn't?
every other reason. No, because I just explained every reason why I know I wasn't locked in. I
It
was
says to
tired.
Albert and Albert's sleepy friends, take responsibility for your own behavior, just like our friend Savon.
Yeah, I literally
Own up to
overclocked.
it.
I literally overclocked myself in every sense of the word.
All right. Fair enough. Keep going with the questions, Sal. Doing great.
Yeah. Anyways, thank you. Maybe I should host one. So yeah, I guess when it's all
Yeah,
said and done,
maybe you
this
should
is my new thing. You
host
heard
a
me?
podcast.
Yeah, but like let's
Maybe.
but maybe we can start to. I don't know if y'all want to do the gladiator question, or if we want to just kind of wrap up with like, should people see this movie? I'll leave that to y'all.
I want to answer the gladiator question.
All right. So Wes, gladiator, it's your birthday. You want to enter a gladiatorial contest? Who are your opponents?
So this, for those of you who haven't seen the movie, this is because
Wait, you wrote my name?
So-
Alright, talk your stuff. Talk
Spoiler.
Your stuff.
hey, he just left it out there for me. No, so for people who haven't seen the movie yet, Austin Butler's character, his name is Fade or Fane, something like that. He's the Harkonnen's like heir apparent. They set him up in like this gladiator combat, and you're like, oh man, like what, this guy's like a crazy lunatic, and he is a crazy lunatic. But what it turns out to be is that it's his birthday, and this is how he celebrates: is he fights people to the death. And a small part of that we learn later is actually that the opponents are drugged so that they're not as lethal as maybe they would be at their full powers. And then we learn later then that the Baron, but then the Baron actually the uncle didn't have one of them drugged, and so it was actually a legitimate battle between him and the last guy who was a competent fighter. So anyways, we thought we'd say like, okay, well, it's your birthday, who are you fighting to the death, weapons, whatever you want, hand-to-hand combat. And my answers are twofold. The first person I'm fighting in the arena is this kid who in 7th grade or 8th grade, we were playing pickup basketball, and he didn't like that I was, showing off my dribbling
Were you
moves.
cooking him?
Well, we were cooking him big time. It was pickup basketball on the playground or in the gym, whatever. I think it was during the gym. I was just assisting all over the place to my boy Forster, hitting Eric in the post and letting him go to work. And I was just dribbling up the floor, and dude just came up and two hands shoved me, just red mist. This guy could not get over it. Just basically rage quit the game by pushing me over. So for him, for his I don't know, quite just like barbaric response to a basketball game. We're going to battle. And then my second person
Wait. I gotta know.
Wait, y'all
before...
fight?
Yeah. What
you
is
must be
young Wesley's response?
Okay.
Yo, that's fighting. We gotta scrap. Like we gotta throw hands. Like there's no other outcome.
I know. I was very much raised in a non-violent household. We weren't programmed or taught to fight, in that way, or to fight back in that way. I was also, just to be clear, so this was 7th grade. I was probably 98 pounds. I was probably a foot shorter than this dude. There was nothing that was gonna happen. So we basically just kind of laughed at him.
B.
You go for the legs.
B, you gotta put hands on him. I don't care what happens.
Go for the legs, ground and pound situation.
Nah, Wes, look, I'm gonna keep it a bug. Because even when I was a kid, like before I got tall, I was a very small kid, and people used to always try and pick fights with me. Nah, B, I don't care if you bigger than me. If you bigger than me, you have to beat my ass. But you're not about to just.
You just grew up in a different world. That's all I'm gonna say. I don't know. My world was not that.
You're not about to son me, dog. You gotta defend your honor. If somebody put hands on you, you gotta swing them. That's the rules. That's the rules. It's like order of operations.
Well, I think then it's appropriate because Sav and I see the world just so differently sometimes that Sav, you're the second opponent in my gladiator because we just got to get out our beefs, our differences of opinions right there on the battlefield. We're going at it. We're scrapping. I'm gonna take a two-hand sword in. Like just a broadsword. Sav, you could take whatever you want, your nunchuck or your whatever, spear. Maybe I need the spear against Sav, actually. I need the reach, because he's so much taller than me.
I wouldn't fight you, Wes. I'm not fighting you.
Is Savon drugged in this situation?
No. He's
either
the
by
one,
his choice or yours?
He's the one that's not drugged. I have to beat him legitimately.
Okay, let's say they give me a bunch of edibles and I'm just, dude, can we just like we ain't gotta fight. Like, do we have to fight?
Yeah.
Like, can we just like rock, paper, scissors or something, bro? Like, we don't have to fight.
No, we gotta fight.
Rubbing the handle of the nunchuck across his face.
Yeah,
the 70,000 demand it. They demand their blood.
No. For what it's worth, Wes, I would not fight you. I want to restrain you, maybe put you in like a chokehold. I wouldn't fight you. Because you're my friend.
We are friends. We still have to fight.
And despite my conditional belief of violence, it's not towards people who I care about.
All right. Fair enough. And because Sav is a Lakers hater, also, I need to defend the honor of the Laker fans.
The honor of the Lakers.
Now for that,
their name shall not be defiled.
Now if you're fighting for Lakers fans' honor, I will happily put you in the dirt. Look, give me a hammer.
Oh my god.
We going to work.
All right. Brian, who are you fighting?
There's only one enemy that needs to be taken down in the arena. And that man is James Dolan, owner of the New York Knicks. I don't care that we've had a few competent years. There is a debt to be paid for 20 years of awfulness. 20 years of the Knicks being the sorriest team in Major League Sports, and it all lies at the feet of James Dolan and his idiotic meddling, his autocratic rule over what is the jewel of sports, the jewel franchise, all because of him. Trash. For 20 years of suffering, he must come into the Coliseum. I'm going to take him drugged up. No shame there. No shame there. Even though I think I could take him because that man is fat. He's like one of these like fat cat rich people
take James Dolan in a fight.
Eating too much pork belly, looking like a pork belly. I'll take him drugged anyway. And we're going with Rusty kitchen knives. That's how we're gonna do this.
Tetanus for everybody.
And I'm gonna let that blood out
All right.
and get one back for orange and blue, because that's what
bong.
we deserve.
I love it. Bing bong.
That's right.
Let's go. Sav, you got an answer?
What? Yeah. What about you, Savon?
You know, I don't really got that many enemies like that.
All right. Oh, he's gonna sneeze. Yeah.
I'm trying
that
to think
felt
like who I have beef with like that. You know, I have a few people who I like to throw a rock at.
I'm
like,
telling you,
I
allergies
throw a rock
is kicking.
at-
Allergies is kicking your
Like,
ass right now, Sav. You
I
might
know.
need to fight off
Like
allergies.
if I could throw a rock, yeah, that. But if I could throw a rock at you, Wes, that would be nice. But I don't want to fight you. I just want to, you know.
Do I get a
Well,
shield?
What
like-
size rock are we talking
Yeah,
about?
I
here?
just want
Do I
to
get a shield?
throw. I just want to throw medium, relatively harmless sized objects at Wes. Like if I could throw a tennis ball at Wes,
Oh, okay.
that's
I
like
think
the
I would throw
amount
a
of
tennis
like
ball at both
like a
of you.
tennis ball would get his attention. It hurt a little bit, but it wouldn't be malicious. Of just whenever Wes say something out of pocket, hey Wes, just stop it. Stop it.
Did you guys play wall ball in grade school?
No, what's
I
that?
used to watch it.
This is like with the tennis ball, and like it's like everybody for themselves, and you throw the ball at the wall, and then if you catch it without a bounce, the person who threw it has to run and touch the wall, but you get to whip the tennis ball right at them, as long as you throw it before they touch the wall.
Oh, all right.
No. So it's one of those games where like you get to punish other kids with a tennis ball.
I like it. It's better than Red Rover. Apparently, people like really got hurt playing Red Rover.
Oh yeah, that was brutal. Oh yeah, we used to be going hard in Red Rover.
We used to play that in elementary school for like PE, but I feel like it makes sense that you kind of banned it because some kids are really big compared to other kids, and that could really do some damage. We got some
You're
big
basically
bruiser.
clotheslining kids.
Yeah, like you're basically
Yeah.
clotheslining people. What?
Yeah, well, but that doesn't. It's the runner doesn't get hurt. It's the people holding their
Well,
arms
if
are going to
the
get hurt
people-
if
If
the
the
person's
people
big.
holding it got a good line,
Yeah.
somebody. No, the game
Nah,
had
'cause you're
equal
little, you would
liability
just
of
bounce.
everybody
I
getting
mean,
hurt.
Someone who's little is just going to
You
bounce
weren't
off.
playing the same. You weren't playing the same Red Rover we was playing.
Okay. All right.
Anybody was liable to get it. If I had to fight somebody, I would probably pick Julius Randle still.
Why?
What did he do to you?
Because
Because he was a pelican.
But he was a pelican, and I think he has one of the worst games of just any star player that I've had to watch. Watching Julius Randle play basketball is an awful experience. He has awful body language. His defense is bad. He does that same spin move that he's been doing for the last 15 years to
It's
the left.
unstoppable, though.
He just Beyblades his way to the rim and hopes good things happen.
I mean,
We'll
kind
throw up
of.
a- we'll
Yeah.
throw
But
up
it's
a-
effective.
We'll throw
Yeah, it
up a
works.
shot, then look at the refs like they insulted his mother, not getting back on defense. Mad when the team loses, clicking off fans. You know what? I think what upsets me the most is that I hate the ill-advised shot selection. Everything I'm saying, Brian, is objectively true. But
I mean-
also, it's good enough to be an all-star and all-NBA, and that makes me livid. Because years from now, people are going to go to his Wikipedia page and see multiple all-stars and all-NBA selections, and they're going to think that he was good at basketball. And something about that upsets me. All that to say, Julius Randle is an absolute tank of a man, is a world-class human being. Even with him recovering from a dislocated shoulder, I need him drugged up. I need to hit him with a double dose.
I
Double dose.
can't lie. If you're ever around me watching a Knick game, there's one name who I utter and throw the fist at, and it's Julius Randle.
It's
That's like the
it's
water
such a
Why,
motivating-
Julius?
it's such
Why
a-
did you do
Oh, the
that?
Yeah,
reason?
it's so weird though because he got third and second team All NBA. He's All NBA, but the man is awful at basketball, but good enough in the ways that he can put up some points and help your team get wins. That's awful.
That's funny.
I'd watch you fight him. I'd watch
Julius
I
Randle,
wouldn't.
connection to all three of our teams. Started on the Lakers, went to the Pels, ended up on the Knicks. The man links us
Ass
together.
on
We live
2
in
out
the
of 3.
Julius Randleverse. That's what it
Yeah,
is.
it was booty cheeks on 2 out of 3. But good for him. He's doing his thing in New York, and I can't hate on that. I can, but he's doing his thing. So,
Yeah.
anyways, last bit for us to close out. Yeah. So, should people see this movie? Yes or no?
Yes. Unequivocally. See it in the
Absolute
theater.
yes.
See it on the big screen. It sounds amazing. It looks
All right,
amazing.
So I need to go see it.
Yes.
It's just cool. Yeah, it's just cool. Watch it.
All right, I'm
For
gonna
sure.
lock in. I'm gonna make that effort to see it. Like I know the parts I did see in the first one when I was in and out, I enjoyed. It was just like I said, I overcommitted myself. So
In
once
and
I
out.
figure out
I could go for a minute.
once I figure out a definite way to watch Dune, I'm gonna start and watch Dune too. Go see it in the theaters.
Dune is on
You
Max.
know, honestly,
It's on Max?
Savon, I think you will eat up the
I
world
know
of
I
Dune.
will. When I was watching the movie, I was like, I'm enjoying this. I am just tired. But I was watching like, oh man, this is so
Wes
cool.
had already drugged you up.
Yeah, clearly. He drugged me
Let's
up. Whatever
put
episode
a
we
friendly
record, he drugged
wager
me
on
up with
this.
some ridiculous takes.
I am a hater, and I don't think Sav's actually going to see Dune 2 in theaters. I don't think he's going to see it in theaters. He might see it when it comes out later, but I don't think he's going to see it in theaters. Brian,
That's not
would
a
you take me
ridiculous
up on this
assertion.
wager? Are you a full believer in Sav's follow through? Oh, he's not going to take the bet.
Yes, but I kind of think you're right.
I think he's right.
He's gonna watch it 6 months from now on his couch.
6 years from now.
Yeah, low key. Yeah, probably.
All right.
But like, if I can lock in and get the first Dune out the way and watch it and take it in and synthesize it, going to see the next one in theaters won't be hard.
I mean, you just have to get on Max. There's not a big
I've
if
been
here.
doing other stuff. Damn it!
He's got a queue, all right. He's got a queue, and everybody's got to wait in line.
Literally, I have a queue, and it's like, dog, I just have to pick. Am I gonna watch this, or play this?
It's pretty good. I think you should watch it.
I know. I will
right.
when I get to
Listeners,
it.
go watch it. Don't be like Sav. Don't wait till it gets out of theaters. It's worth seeing in theaters for sure.
Everyone should be like me.
This is a go see it in theaters movie.
Dune, go see it. It looks fun. It's a big lot of movie spectacle. It seems like it really just gives you that movie experience of to Wes's point. This is what theaters were made for. Big shots, big production, lots of fun visuals. So yeah, I'll check out Dune. The rest of y'all check it out. And yeah, let us know in the comments and all that once we release this episode what you thought of Dune. And yeah. Other than that,
Meow.
Always a pleasure, people. What? Was that a meow? Never mind. What up? This is host Savon. If y'all want to see more of me hosting, let it do the thing. I could, I could do more hosting, get that guy going. Otherwise, y'all have a lovely day. Later, folks. Later,
Bye.
fellas.
Long live his
Bye.
reign.
Long live his reign.
Meow.